Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of Soul Over Matter podcast. I'm your host, Michelle. Today on our show, we have Iara Line. She is an entrepreneur originally from Brazil. She's a certified family constellation and ancestral healing facilitator, a life path coach, a Reiki and sound healing practitioner, workshop leader, and a speaker for the growing conscious learning movement. Her passion is to help others, especially women, on their path of healing, transmuting, and creating the life they really love. She's the founder of the Life Change Breakthroughs, Ancient Knowledge for the Modern Woman, and co-founder of the Sedona Sound Triad. Iara, welcome to Soul Over Matter. How are you?
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm great. I'm excited to have you on and share your wisdom and your knowledge. You say you really work with women in their 40s. So I haven't really covered that or touched on that. So whenever I have a guest on Soul Over Matter, I always ask, how did you get to that? Like, how did you come into the teachings of helping women in their 40s?
Well, I'm in my 40s, my early 40s. I'll be 42 very soon. And I didn't have any idea how things really change when you're in your 40s. You hear that, but people say, oh, things really change. But I say, oh, whatever. I didn't care when I was in my 30s. I wasn't doing anything differently until it hit me like hard. And when I say change, was not just change of my physical body, was not just no longer being able to eat certain foods, but was a change on the mentality as well, was change on priorities, change and thinking about moving forward as well. It's like it's a midpoint of our lives. So questions like what I'll be doing for the next 40 years of my life. I'll be doing the same thing that I'm doing now. Am I happy doing what I'm doing right now or not? Am I happy in my current relationship? Do I want to move forward with that or not? And what about will I keep eating the same thing knowing that I can is no longer good for my system? If yes, why would I do that? So all those questions start coming up. My body started changing. I was a little bit sedentary, I need to admit, because living on Maui, I would just go for walks on the beach for some dance. And I'm like, wow, now I need to lift weights. I have to lift weights, not like an option. I should
Mm.
lift weights. Is a necessity. The body needs that. So I saw all those changes and I would try to find information online, and it was such a challenging for me to find information online. And basically for the last 2 years, almost 2 years, I had been researching, applying my life and making like big changes in my life. People seeing those big changes coming forward. Yeah, what have you been doing? You changed so much and
Mm.
your body changed, your face changed. You're getting younger. What's going on? And I felt the necessity to start sharing this with other women because it's such an important period of our lives. I say that the 40s is a time that you can go uphill or downhill very, very, very fast. And
Mm.
it's all up to us what we start doing with our lives.
Amazing. Do you feel like it was another spiritual awakening for you?
In a way, I wouldn't say like a spiritual awakening, but a different awareness. I start seeing things that I couldn't see before. And certain things started having more meaning for me that before didn't have any meaning. So it's not awakening, but awareness. Something really, really changed. I started taking better care of myself much more and receiving some criticism about that. Yeah, you're too neurotic about that. So wait a minute. It's not that
Oh.
I'm too neurotic about that. I need to start doing those things because if I don't do those things now, things start going downhill. And they started going downhill for me a little bit. So it's bringing the awareness and accept, okay, change is right here. Things are changing. How can I navigate these changes and feel better than ever?
Mm. What were some of those changes? Like what besides you said your body, right? You were on Maui and walking and realizing, okay, I need to work out and use weights. Like what, yeah, what was that? What were other changes that you were noticing yeah, resistance from or yeah, just like, oh, I can't keep doing the same things I did in my 30s.
Mhm, yeah. The way that I do work, for instance, I was a
Mm,
workaholic for many years. Work was a huge priority in my life, and it's still a really big priority in my life. But I learned that in order to do all the new things that I need to do for myself, there is an extra workout, there is extra time in nature, extra time doing the things that I love. I need to prioritize that as well. So how can I divide my day? And I realized that the mornings, a big period of my mornings need to be dedicated for myself. And part of the night also dedicated for myself. Super important because if I don't do that, I'm not gonna have time to do the things that I need to do for myself. So this means I need to be more productive at work. When I sit down a chair to work, I need to be laser focused on what I'm doing, do something like in a more effective way that I used to do before, because I don't want to be the whole day in front of the computer or the whole day at work and not having time to do these other things that I want to do before. This was a big thing and a big change for me. And when I tell people about my working schedule today, some people laugh. I said, "Is that possible to have a working schedule like yours?"
mm.
I said, "Yes, it is possible. And if I'm doing, you can do as well." I work less, but it's more effective, less hours. I don't work less. I work less hours.
Smarter, right?
Work smarter. That's right. Work smarter. When I sit over here to work, I'm not going to be like sitting here to work and check my phone each 5 minutes. I need to sit here in front of my computer to work and focus so I can have whatever I decided to accomplish that day, I can get accomplished. And I can have free time to do other things and to take better care of myself. That was
Do
a
you
big
feel it was a big change, you said?
thing. Big change.
Do you feel like women in their 40s, yeah, like you said, it's kind of this wake-up call that they don't even realize, right? It's almost like that autopilot because as women, we're always innately filling everyone else's cup first, right? Sharing with others and not filling our own cup. So did you feel like that too? Like you kind of just woke up to, oh wait, I have to prioritize myself and I have to be selfish in a way.
Absolutely. And I was criticized for that, for being selfish. You're being too selfish. Absolutely. It was a huge awareness that I need to prioritize myself because if I'm not feeling good under my skin, if I'm not feeling good with myself, if I'm not feeling good in the way that I'm navigating my romantic relationships or my
Mhm.
friends, how can I do the work that I came here to do in the world? How can I be a good professional? How can I be successful in other areas of my life if I'm not even doing this for myself? There is no way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting because yeah, I feel like as women, right? I'm sure you have clients like this, right? You help women in their 40s. So are they burnt out? Are they just not putting themselves first? I'm a firm believer in being selfish is okay. Like I really always stress that self-love, self-care because yeah, I don't know about you. I'd love to know too your upbringing, right? Like how were your parents? How were the women around you? Because for me it was
Mm,
work, 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 put everyone in front of myself. And I've kind of flipped that energy. Did you find that as well growing up?
mm,
This I don't want to say ancestral, but kind of like the women before you working really hard or not really putting themselves first.
mhm. Yeah, I saw this some type of pattern in my family, more with my mom. My grandmother always took and still. My grandmother is like gorgeous. She's in her 70s. I said, "Grandmother, you have less wrinkles than I have." Oh, natural, no Botox. I'm not kidding. She's amazingly gorgeous. My mom never really cared about beauty and so much taking care of her body. She has her natural beauty. But I always noticed my mom being very focused, like, okay, I need to work. And she was a single mom for so many years. And there was always a feeling of suffering, things being hard, and not even having time to take care of herself because she needs to take care of the house, she needs to take care of me, she needs to pay like all the bills. Was not easy to see that growing up. And on the side of my grandmother's side, my grandmother has always been a hard worker. and a smart worker, super smart worker.
Mm.
And she always took amazing care of herself, and it still does. It's amazing. Grandmother already wake up looking gorgeous every time. Like she doesn't have like stay home kind of clothes, even though she says that she has. That's a stay home clothes, but it's always beautiful. It's always well put together. And I think just make her feel good, and that's it. So she was an example for me, definitely, growing up, and now being in my 40's and seeing my grandmother still taking care of herself in all the sense, all aspects of her life, from the way that she eats and still exercising, doing aqua gymnastics, still
Wow.
wanting to improve the way that she looks, and and her health. It was just like such an inspiration for me. Now my mom just doesn't care. My mom just she lives lives and navigate through lives, and she's good with that.
Mm. Yeah, sometimes they say it skips a generation, like we feel close, not closer to our grandmothers, but for me, my mom follows my Instagram and will be like, I've learned so much from you, right? And
Oh.
she's like, you do so many things that grandma did. And it's really interesting. I love hearing, especially for women, right, what we came from, right? Our childhood, our upbringing, because those were the first role models we had. Like, did you notice that when you were growing up, your grandma really taking care of herself?
Growing up, yes, my grandmother used to bring me to the malls.
Oh,
Grandmother was the first one that took me to have a wax. There is hair growing your leg. It's time to have your wax. Probably I was 11 years old.
wow.
Yes.
You're
It's so
probably like, what's gonna happen?
It's so
Do you
interesting.
remember that?
I
Oh
enjoyed.
my
It was like
gosh.
she would take me to the manicure. She still look at those things. Grandmother always told me a woman needs to be beautiful on the inside and the outside. And I would think that inside would just be spiritual, but was not necessarily that. Even like the underwears. Grandmother would sometimes go through my underwears. If they're like I have like old, ugly underwear, she said, okay, we gotta go shopping for underwears. Let's throw away these ones and let's get new ones. It's interesting, those things that stick in your memory. I was
Mhm.
like shopping for underwears last week and sharing this with my husband, but like how my grandmother used to tell me those things. And listen, I do work with family constellation, ancestral healing. So more and more I have been observing those things and how
Mm.
these patterns pass through to us, and I'm grateful for those ones that came from my grandmother. They're important, especially in this moment in time right now.
Yeah, especially yeah, ancestral roots. I've shared an episode about family constellations, but for anyone listening who hasn't listened to that episode, Yada, do you want to briefly explain what family constellations is?
Yes, not so easy to explain. I'll do my best over here. As you know, if you're a participant of a family constellation, you know that. But what happened with family constellation? Family constellation proves that through epigenetics, there are things that get transferred from our ancestors to ourselves. So, of course, we have things that is transmitted by the genes, like the color of our eyes and the color of our hair. But it's also proved this day that is traumas, unresolved traumas can be transferred as well. Some addiction behaviors can be transferred as well. So sometimes a person has a repetitive patterns going on and on over and over in their lives. They already did therapy for 10, 20, 30 years, and nothing seems to change. And when this happens, most likely is because this issue is on the family system. There is some entanglement on the family system, and family constellation help you to identify where is that entanglement, where is that issue on the family system. And when the client is able to identify that, healing take place. There is an opening door for healing to take places. And of course, we work with the morphogenetic field. When it's a group family constellation, we have other individuals that will be representing your family members and stepping into the morphogenetic field of your family members, and we'll see the interaction between you and that family member to see if the issues over there. And during a one-on-one family constellation, we use the figurines, where one more time, the practitioner will get in and out the morphogenetic field of each family member and see what is the interaction with you and see where there is unbalance, where is that issue coming from, and how can you bring balance back to the family system. And automatic, when you bring balance back to the family system, you bring balance back to the individual's life, to the client's life as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's all connected.
It is all connected and it's not easy to explain. A
No,
person that if you go to a group
you
family
don't have to go
consultation or
into it.
have
It's
a
okay.
one-on-one, yeah, it's deep. You know.
Yeah. Have you found, so you work with women in their 40s, have you found a lot of patterns from their childhood, from their ancestry that tie into where they are in their mind, body, and spirit?
Absolutely. What I noticed for women in their 40s, there was a lot of things, not for women in their 40s, and women in general, but especially for women in their 40s, because I think women in their 40s look for more healing than any other age for some reason.
Mm.
I noticed this pattern in my practice, my family constellation practice. But what I noticed, a lot of stuff is stuck on the throat area, not being able to speak their truth, not being able to express, to fully express themselves, even for the people that they love the most, is almost having something stuck right
Mm.
over here on the throat area. And makes total sense because just for the fact of being a woman, we had so much repression. And not that long time ago, if you just go 50 or 100 years ago, women could not speak. Sometimes women could not have their own social security number. In Brazil, they just changed that not that long time ago. Imagine, women could not have their own social security number. They're under their husband's social security number in Brazil that we call
Mm.
CPF. And women could not speak for themselves, should always be under the man, otherwise was a big scandal. And if women had a voice for themselves on the old days, it was very detrimental for the woman. They were considered a dirty woman, or they could even be considered a whore. So we suffer so much repression. And of course, that unresolved repression, unresolved trauma get passed from generation to the generation. Now we have this generation, especially women there, I'll say their 40s, 50s, and 60s that had that throat issue, not be able to speak their truth, not be able to truly be themselves and express themselves. So I did notice that pattern.
Wow. Yeah, it makes sense, right? I think, what is it? We couldn't get a mortgage or even a credit card up until like 30, 40 years ago, if even that. It's really recent. It's very recent. And I think people forget that, right? It's just,
It is.
women with money, women successful, speaking, talking, right? It's like, this is really the lifetime for women to step into their truth and step into their expression. So it's so amazing that you are doing that for women. How do you help women in your practice through that throat chakra healing? What
Family
are some tips that
constellation
you
is
have?
a big one. The family constellation helps a lot, of course, because it helps you to identify when that happened and with who that happened in your family lineage. And then let's say that is something that happened with your great grandmother that shows in a family constellation. Okay, so let's look to that. And if you know that, if you're somebody that is watching Michelle's podcast right now, you know that your great grandmother, your grandmother, your mom suffer from that, which wasn't a very repressive relationship. She couldn't express herself. So especially if you already know that, what you can do, you can imagine that woman in front of you, or pick up a picture of that woman from your family
Mhm.
lineage, even if she already passed away. Close your eyes, imagine her in front of you, or pick up her picture and look at the picture. And first recognize, look at her and say, grandmother or great grandmother, I'm so sorry for what happened with you. I can now see that. I see what happened with you. And you honor that woman for what she went through. You honor that woman because if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be here. And after you honor that woman in your heart, you say grandmother or great grandmother, and you can imagine carrying some heavy weight in your hands, or even pick up a rock. If you're here in Sedona or in a place, go to pick up a heavy rock and visualize all those traumas related with not using the voice being transferred to this heavy rock from all parts of your body, from your throat, from your head, from your shoulders, from your feet, from your knee, from your belly. And then with a lot of amorosity and give back to her. Say,
Mm.
grandma, thank you so much for all the lessons, but now I return this to you because this no longer belongs to me. This belongs to you, and I'll give it back to you. and you give back with a lot of amorosity, and it will be transmuted. It will be transmuted where it needs to be transmuted. This is a powerful exercise that anyone that is watching us can do if you already know where the trauma came from. When you don't know, it can be a little harder to do. Family constellation can help. This is one. And I do some exercise with some of my clients. That is the screaming exercise. But I'll tell something. Some women cannot even scream. It's so interesting. You said, can you scream it? They cannot. It can be like a little bit of a build up of doing certain sounds, and then go to nature and scream like there is nobody hearing you, there is nobody around you, and just have that release of the screaming. Or if you're home, just pick up a pillow and scream on a pillow. But sometimes it's important to this physical action of screaming. And while you're screaming, you can one more time visualizing the blockage coming out of your throat chakra and bring healing, connected. I like screaming on the, actually in nature, I think is the best because you can remove your shoes, do your grounding, feel the earth, and when you scream, feel that transmutation is going through earth, is transmuted, is clearing you.
Yeah, and nature kind of holds you, right? And
Yes.
softens the scream. And yeah, I mean, especially in Sedona, she's such a mother energy, so she really can help transmute that energy. But those are such powerful practices. And yeah, the screaming is interesting because that's so somatic, right? It's something that we need to do as women, but again, that suppression or being seen as quotes crazy, right? It's so interesting. I mean, I even think of women who birth their children, right? They're told to be quiet during childbirth, and it's like that's one of the most primal times
Yes.
that you are meant to express. And actually opening your throat opens your womb, opens your cervix.
Absolutely, it's connected. Yes, it's proof that it's connected. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there is a lot of taboos on the birth. Yes, on the moment
Yeah.
of the birth, the woman could be doing to release and to help, and we don't do because we're shy, we think it's wrong, and absolutely, Michelle.
Do you find too, did you find when you turned 40 that more of your creativity started coming online as you were doing this healing and as you were finding this awareness around yourself?
It's interesting. I don't know if that was the reason, but I can tell that when I turned the 40s, there is a surge of energy that took over my body. I came from being a more like a sedentary, chill person for being very energetic and say, I'm ready to share all this knowledge that I have accumulated
Mm.
with the world, and I'm doing now, and nobody will stop me.
I love the
was very
fire.
was very interesting. And work with so many women in their 40s and having so many friends in their 40s, I saw a common denominator in that.
Mm. Yeah, it's almost like, yeah, your own, this fire, right? This fire just turned on for you in that way. And yeah, so now you've been working with women in their 40s. How long have you been working with clients through this transition?
Well, through this transition, I'm the type of person when I learn something, I internalize and I start teaching right away. It's one of the things that I do and one of the things that I do the best. So as soon that I start learning those things and internalize and use on me, I start teaching. So
Mm,
for my clients, but it wasn't just specific for women in their 40s, even though the teachings was a lot of things that I was learning and using on me from my 40s was not just for women in their 40s. Just like this, that was December actually, that I had an epiphany. I was like, wait a minute. I supposed to be working just with women in their 40s for a
mm,
while. There is something important over here because I really believe that because there is this surge of energy and empowerment that come in your 40s, come or not, because as I told you, go up or you go down. For a lot of women,
right.
currently they go down and they get depressed. But once they come up, I believe that we can be the change that the world want to see, be the ones that can be the can I stimulate the change that we need on the world?
Mm,
And I said, okay, this is part of my mission. That's what I'll be doing moving forward. So just in December was when this really came super strong. super strong. Yeah, you're already working all those things for the last 2 years. Of course, like I have been working with family constellation for over 10 years. I have been a coach for so many years, but the woman their 40s was recently when it came to me. And I just followed the impulse, knowing that was the right thing to do.
Amazing. And what about women who are moving through menopause, right? I know that can be such a huge transition. And I swear it's like we're still in a society where older women are almost unrecognized, right? Or it's like you're older, so you're just not you're not, it's not that you're not seen, but it gets to be talked about, right? Our periods, the menopause, like every cycle gets to be shared. So how do you help women through that transition that many people shy
Absolutely.
away from?
So women usually go to the menopause in their 50s, on the beginning of their 50s. If you get into menopause before your 50s, it can be considered early menopause. So
Mm,
I do not work with women their menopause yet because I didn't go through that myself yet.
I love that.
I'm a person that in my life I like going through things first, internalizing first before I start teaching others from my own experience and from close friends first and close clients before I start teaching. But one thing I can tell you, if you do a good preparation in your 40s, in your body, mind, and spirit,
Mm,
the chances for you to have an amazing time during your menopause is very high. Now, if there is no preparation, then I went to so many retreats where there is like older women and we're talking about menopause. And I was hearing what they're telling me, even like the fact of start sleeping earlier. That is such a big one that can really mess up your whole system and your whole hormones. So if during your whole 40s you're still like sleeping late like you should do in your 30s, and I was like a super night owl. I need to change
mm.
that. It's so hard for me to change. I'm still changing, not an easy transition. But if you start doing that, this will totally mess up your hormones, will most likely put you in an early menopause. Instead of being in menopause in your 50s, you'll be in your menopause in your early or mid 40s, and you're not going to have a good experience. So that's why the 40s is such a pivotal part of a woman's life, so important for preparation as well. What types of foods I need to start eating right now? What types of physical exercise I need to be doing right now? What about pelvic floor exercise, face yoga? When do I need to stop eating and start eating? How about fasting for women in their 40s? How to regulate my hormones right now? So when you're in your 50s, you enter menopause, will be smooth.
Mm.
Will be
So
a
that
smoother
preparation.
transition. Yeah. But I do not guide women through their menopause yet. This you can find a lot these days. What you cannot find is like, what about this gap between
Mm.
in your 30s, and there is this gap that is a whole decade in your 40s, and then comes menopause in your 50s. Mhm.
Yeah. So that preparation, you're helping women. Yeah,
Yes.
almost, it's like women getting ready to have children, right? And then have children and then 30s. And then, yeah, it's like we're always being prepared as women. We're always cycling through a
Yeah.
season. It's so different. Our rhythms are so different than men's. So yeah, that must be an interesting transition to work through, right? Of like, okay, what I'm doing today is going to impact 5, 10 years from now because
Mm.
of the knowledge, right? Of menopause, the vitamins, the hormones, like everything is is necessary. So that's amazing that you are doing that.
Yeah, it really changed. Actually, when you turn 35, you enter what they call the perimenopause. When you're
Mm,
35, so your hormones is really start changing. Most likely you start having more PMS than you had before. Your body start changing. You start like losing mass, muscle mass like crazy while you're still in your 30s. So that's when things really start changing. In your 40s, that's when you feel the change. Oh, something changed. If I don't work out, if I don't lift weight, you start having body injuries. It's not an option anymore. You need to lift weights. You
to
don't need to be a
strength.
bodybuilder, but you're gonna start having injuries because you start losing muscle mass in your body in your 30s.
Mm. So the strength, right? Building muscle is really important for women. I'm sure too with like osteoporosis, right? All of these things that could happen for women to build that energy and that physique.
Absolutely. Osteoporosis happens a lot when the woman is already on the menopause, when they
Mm,
stop like of ovulating, start having their menstruation. That's when these parts start. But as I told you, you can start preparing right now. There are some supplements that you can start making your bones strong, or some food that you can start eating right away to change. There are things that you can do like instantly and actually work for, doesn't matter what is your age, but for your 40s, they become like essential. They become a must.
mm. It's good to know. It's good to know because I'm sure people listening are, in their 20s, 30s, like, wow, it's never too early to think about these different cycles and these different chapters of our lives. So you're really helping this, like you said, this gap between, right, 30s and then 50s.
Yes.
What else have you helped women with in their 40s?
A lot of women look for my help during transition. So it's a career transition is a big one.
Mm,
And it's interesting, as you told people, they get attracted to your energy. I think when they feel that a person went through something similar, I went through
yes.
so many things, like with career change, big change that I need to literally jump off the cliff
Take the
to
leap.
fit those chains, like, oh, here I go one more time. But the beautiful thing is like once you do one time, and I believe you know that because I know about all your travels and what you have done on the last 2 years. If you do that one time, you can repeat over and over and over. You know it's possible. So transition, career transition is a big one, and transition in relationships is another big one that I
Mm,
help women as well. And then come not just with the family constellation, but comes the coaching part, and also by, as I told, by experience.
yeah.
By experience from going through those things like so many times and knowing how to navigate, and how can you navigate through that one more time without being depressed, without being the worst experience in the world, and you want to learn from that and grow from that experience.
Yeah, yeah. I always say the experience of life, right, is a certificate in and of itself, right? Sometimes we don't need the external certificates. It's like, oh, I live this. I was in the trenches. Now let me help you in the trenches. Let me help you. Let me walk alongside you. And I
Mhm.
always say too, people don't want mentors who are on pedestals. They want mentors who will walk with them and who have walked where they are walking now.
Yes, it's very helpful for sure. If we went through something in this lifetime, because of course, like we have all the, for people who believe on that, I believe that we had
Mm-hmm.
past lifetimes as well. And we bring a lot of knowledge and experience from those. But it helps when you went through a situation this lifetime and you cross to the other side, you succeed, and then you can, as you thought, you can help another person. Give me your hand over here. I'll
Mm-hmm.
walk through that with you. And because of that, it'll be easier for you than it was easier for me because I didn't have
Yes.
anybody to walk with me.
Yeah.
Need
How
to
did that
learn.
feel? How did that feel like transitioning into your 40s and you didn't have a coach or a mentor like you are now, right? You did it on your own.
Was hard. It was hard. I was like, is that it? Are things really going downhill now? I had like horrible injuries when I just
Mm,
moved to Sedona because I was moving, there is so much transition. I didn't really have time to do even not even my walks. And I had some injuries that are like absolutely horrible in my spine. And one
wow.
of why I have those injuries because I didn't have strong muscles to hold my spine and hold things where they need to be held. So it was one of the most horrible experience of my life. And I'm like, okay,
Mm,
as soon as I heal from this injury, it took me like quite a while, things will change in my physicality. No more being sedentary, no more like sitting on the chair like for 10 hours nonstop. Things really need to change. So as that's like was the beginning, I was like, wow, okay, this part needs to change right away. And then started having digestive issues because my
Mm.
body kind of stopped digesting certain foods and not understanding one more time what's going on with my digestive system, what happened. It wasn't like this before. And relearning about foods and different foods, what I can eat, what I cannot eat, and why. I love check. I'm like a nerd in this sense. I love learning the why this is happening with me because it's better, it's easier to wrap my mind around. Why does this happen with me? And now what do I need to change on the way that I eat? And
Mm.
then learning one more time, like, okay, the face is really like going down. I can put the most expensive lotions in in the whole universe. But if you go with the logic, we have muscles in our face, you know. Well, I need to start like exercising the muscles in my face, just like exercise my leg, just like exercise my arms. And I need to learn that. I need to test what it works and what it doesn't work. And even like hormonal pimples. I never had pimples in my whole life. I was
Wow.
like a perfect skin. I was like, I'm having pimples. Where are they coming from? And they come from the food, remove the food. Are they coming from these new lotions or whatever? Remove the lotions to find out that they were hormonal. Oh, what
Mm.
hormone is causing that? What can I eat? How can I regulate my hormones in a natural way? So these will reduce. It was like it's just like
One thing
so
after the other.
so many things, and the importance of pelvic exercise when you enter your 40s also. A lot of women after having children in their 30s or even their 40s, start having urinary incontinence. Things
Mm.
get like, and this is for actually any woman any age can happen when you have a child, you can have urinary incontinence. Things get flaccid. And one more time, is a muscle. We have the pelvic floor muscle. Like any muscle in our body, we start losing mass and start getting flaccid,
Mm.
and we start need to work out those things as well. And then you find like all these like weird workouts, some work and some they don't work, which one really work, which person's real, until you figure out after much research and exercising yourself and buying like tons of courses and like, okay, I found something that actually works. It's just like so many. It has been like a journey,
Mhm.
a
It
journey,
sounds like
and be
one.
able to compile all that and share with women would be such an honor to make it easier for them, a easier
Mm.
path in a not so easy moment in life that is your 40s.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like you are a powerful mentor for a lot of women who are lost, right? It's not talked about. I haven't talked about it yet, so I'm excited to share this podcast and your wisdom and your knowledge. And I know you have a retreat coming up. Do you want to talk about that?
I do. I'm so excited about this retreat. It will happen here in Sedona between March 22nd and March 26th of this year, 2024. And it's all about it's a healing transformation for women in their 40s. And basically all those things that we just share here today during these 4 days, it's actually 4.5 days, we'll be going depth. So
Mm.
we'll have like family constellations and other sound healing, cacao ceremonies, connection with the earth and the vortexes, working on speaking our truth, putting our voice out, and also learning face exercise, pelvic floor exercise, learning about food and nutrition. We're gonna have this amazing chef that will cook for us, and she's a woman, her 40s as well, and she'll be cooking this hormone balanced food, and her food is the
Mm.
most delicious ever. And we'll all be in this beautiful transformational home in Sedona in a container. There's just space for 7 women and myself and my assistant. And it'll be I say something because I have been researching this for so long. I can guarantee that will be like the most comprehensive and transformational retreat immersion that any woman in their 40s can do. So
Mm.
for the woman in their 40s that is watching it, oh, it's almost in your phone. Maybe you're like 39. Or maybe you just turned 50 and it's okay. You're still over there. We're still going through those transitions. Then I would like to invite to just sign in for the retreat. It would be very powerful. So many amazing things. And will be things that this woman will be able to use for the next 40 years of her life.
Mm,
The
that
next 40 years
midpoint.
of your life. Yes. It's not
Yeah.
something, oh, I'll learn this in the retreat and that's it. No, you're going to leave the retreat with tools to keep using, moving forward. We're going to have follow-up calls. We're going to have a Telegram group so people can keep helping each other,
Oh, I
forming
love
a
that.
community of women in their 40s. Is to bring the awareness, to bring community, and to really grow. I would love this to become a movement. Let's do the 40s, the best decade of our lives, and move forward. Let's empower ourselves. Because
Mm,
as you said, Michelle, there is that big taboo after 40s and even 50s. And there is this thing, oh, things change, is not good enough. What happened? And it must change. It's time to change that.
amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to my 40s and going on this retreat with you.
Oh
Um,
my goodness, me too. Because the intention is to keep doing at least like once a year. I would love to offer this retreat specific for women in their 40s. Yes.
And then I love the ongoing community because I mean, I've been on retreats and yes, sometimes you leave that portal, right? And you're integrating on your own and it can be overwhelming. It could be its own retreat after to kind of assimilate back into your normal life, right? And bring in those energies. So I love that you have that ongoing community. That's such an important part.
Yes, we'll have
Amazing.
this community so people can keep like sharing information, keep like posting questions or what's going on with them. And most likely they'll leave the retreat with an accountability partner. I love doing
Mm,
that on retreats. Say, okay, let's choose here an accountability partner to make sure that you keep doing those things so you guys can check on each other. This is one thing that I learned, like being a coach, and even before becoming a coach, like the importance of accountability to keep us on track of whatever we want to accomplish in our lives.
amazing. Where can people find you?
People can find me online and my webpage that is Life Change Breakthroughs, not changes, just change, lifechangebreakthroughs.com. And that's where there's information about the retreat as well. And we can get connected on Instagram. If you look for Iara Line, we can put the information right and also, right, Michelle, later on. I
Yes.
know my name is very unusual, so you may not understand how to spell my name. It's I as India, A as Apple, R as in Rose, A as an Apple. Iara Line on Instagram and Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. And I'm constantly like posting videos, sharing tips, because I love sharing this type of information with people, especially with women.
Amazing. And what other offerings do you have if someone can't make it to the retreat?
I offer family constellation sessions, one-on-one family constellation sessions through the Life Change Breakthroughs website. The coaching, I say mostly like life path coaching, or if you're in a time of transition in your life, that's more my expertise, life path and transition in life. And we have also the Reiki and sound healing. The sound healing these days, usually I offer here in Sedona because I'm part of a group that called Sedona Sound Triad that we download on the moment, and we do retreats also for people. So online, usually I'm always posting the workshops. I just did a family constellation workshop for women here in Sedona as well. So if you go over there or to sign into our newsletter, you'll be receiving information. There is always things. I'm nonstop with those things because it's my passion.
That's amazing. Well, Yada, thank you so much for coming on Soul Over Matter and thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me here, Michelle. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.